Greetings! It is Trillium's Galaxy 4 Point, a version of their regular pale ale, but dry hopped with Galaxy instead of Citra. They don't even use Citra in this one. It's almost single hopped, like a lot of their pales and IPAs. And it's 6.6% alcohol, canned 2 days ago. I don't think it was the first time they've canned the Galaxy 4 Point. I think maybe they did that once before, but I haven't had it in quite a while, and I haven't done a video review of it, so let's do it. And this one is $15 a 4-pack, which is, I guess, the same price as the 64-ounce growlers, but I don't have to drink it all at once. And it's pouring, yeah, pours beautifully, just like I expect from most Trillium beers, but all the cans haven't had quite the high carbonation they usually do, but this one is looking super hazy, with a really nice head sticking around there, and like it's exactly what I come to expect from Trillium. They've mastered their 4-point recipe, definitely. I haven't had a bad 4-point variety probably ever, actually. They dumped the whole first batch of 4-point that they were going to can because it wasn't good enough. So I'm glad that they are taking just as good care of their can batches as they did with everything else. But it looks real hazy, completely opaque. It looks a lot like actually the double dry hop 4-point that I had yesterday. But not all these canned batches have been super hazy. If you see my Cutting Tiles Archaic review, that one was only sort of translucent, and it was still good, but it had lower carbonation. This is looking great. The head is sticking around still, even though it's kind of hot and humid in here. And I noticed that kind of kills head on beer a little bit. And I haven't even brought my nose to it, but of course it smells delicious everywhere. Galaxy hops, of course, from Australia, the premier super fruity Australian hop. And it smells really fruity, but it has that unique, slight minerally tinge, that sort of southern hemisphere resinous quality that's a little bit different from the American resinous one. Yeah, it doesn't smell exceedingly oniony, garlicky, or too dank. It has almost a sort of green pepper, jalapeno pepper, sort of fresh cut pepper, almost capsaicin-y sort of thing happening. Almost black pepper that I really like, and I think it helps the fruit come out even more rather than the kind of funkiness that can come from American hops. That makes it more like a kind of wild salad beer with fruit on top. But yeah, there's of course passion fruit, sort of guava, all that stuff is happening. Grapefruit, plenty of like juicy grapefruit, not exactly a ruby red grapefruit, but really ripe white grapefruit, not too pithy or bitter peel sort of aromas happening. I'm noticing just a teeny bit of alcohol, actually, surprisingly. And it's a little bit musky. It's like a musky spiciness from the Galaxy hops that I like quite a bit. Yeah, it's not exactly like drinking fruit juice like a Citra or Mosaic beer. It is super fruity, but it lacks all the funkiness that I get from those other hops. And I like it quite a bit, but it is a different thing. I'm really glad that now I can tell the difference between Galaxy and Citra and these other hops. I remember when I first had a Galaxy hops Trillium beer, I was confused about the flavors because it's hard to make sense of some of these Southern Hemisphere hops at first. It's like, it's not the normal grapefruit and pine, definitely. I'm sure with some age this might get a little bit pineier. Carbonation doesn't seem extremely high on the tongue, and just right on the edge of being big noticeable bitterness, but it doesn't linger too much. And the finish is a slight spicy, peppery, tropical experience. It's really nice. It isn't big and sweet and juicy. It has all the fruity flavors, but it's not exactly as juicy as most of other Trillium beers, but I don't mind it. It gets across lots of really nice, clean spice and green and black pepper flavors, along with all the tropical fruits. But it doesn't smell quite as sweet as other Trillium beers are. It doesn't come across as sweet either. Though I'm betting it has a similar sweetness to all the other 4-point varieties because it's the exact same malt bill, alcohol content. All the hops they add for the flavoring, and dry hops kind of come near the end of all the brewing, so it doesn't really have much effect on how the yeast ferments all the malt and everything. But it really does make it a pretty different beer. The Columbus bittering hops they use in all these gives a lot of similar bitter grapefruit sort of in the finish and a similar quality of bitterness, but the flavor and aroma is pretty different. Yeah, I would encourage anyone to try these different 4-point varieties side by side to really pin down how the hops are different. The specific hops have different flavors, and especially because Trillium is releasing so many cans, you can get like a can of one 4-point and another 4-point that are definitely going to be within a week of age. So now you can actually do this. Whereas before, Trillium would have like 1 beer or 2 beers available. Now there's so much. It's like being a kid in a candy store living in the Boston area now. Yeah, actually, right now I'm enjoying how it doesn't seem quite as sweet because it is a little hot, and it's somewhat refreshing. It has a little bit of body and that nice texture from all the floating sediment in there. The bitterness is starting to build up nicely. It is very much like a white grapefruit juice bitterness that I'm noticing in the finish, but it's not quite like drinking just pure pineapple and orange juice. I definitely get a little bit of pineapple and mango, but it's the spiciness and the grapefruitiness is really taking over. Yeah, probably grapefruit and mango are the two main fruits I would describe for this one, with a little bit of orange juice in there. Yeah, this is one that I guess if you want a really big, juicy, hoppy beer that's a little more on the dry, spicy end, at least it's perceived as more dry and spicy, go for this one, go for the Galaxy. Also, I'm realizing that Galaxy has, it's a different kind of spice, and rather than sort of the normal dank, oniony sort of thing you get from American hops, but then all the same sort of fruits happening. And this is a fantastic beer. And I feel like the spiciness of the Galaxy brings out the alcohol a bit more. I'm noticing the heat more than I usually do with these 4-point beers because they're only 6.6% alcohol. And usually with the Trillium beers, it's like big fruity aroma first, and then you kind of notice it after you have a few sips. And I mean, you could see that as being a negative, but I think that probably plays into my perception of how it's dry. I'm noticing the spice and the alcohol a little bit more. And I definitely don't mind it at all. It's not a bad sort of alcohol that I'm noticing, like a nail polish remover or something. I'm gonna have to do, I don't know, it's really good. It's not knocking me off my feet like double dry hop 4-point that I had yesterday, but it's really nice. I'll do 80, 85 maybe for it. That's probably fair. So 85 for Trillium Galaxy 4-point. Goodbye.